welcome back to Fluttering Butterflies. My name is Michelle and this video is going to be the second half of my British Books challenge during the month of June. Now I will leave a link down below to the 10 books that I read in June during the first 2 weeks, and this video is going to be talking about the 9 books that I read by British authors during the second 2 weeks in June. Let's get started. The first book I'd like to talk to you about is One by Sarah Crossin. This is a novel told in verse talking about conjoined twins, Tippy and Grace. I really loved this book. Everyone that had read it before me had said that this book is very emotional and it will just grab at your heartstrings and really pull at them. Because it is told throughout a series of poems from Grace's perspective, it is a very quick read. It only took me about 2 hours of an afternoon. And at the end, yes, I could definitely see where everyone was coming from. This book is a wonderful story about love and sisters and about identity. I think that this book is something very special, and I think that novels told in verse are incredibly well crafted, and that Sarah Crossan does an amazing job of sharing some really emotional concepts and themes, and she does it in a very beautiful and lyrical way and using some very few words to do it. Next up, I read another book by Bloomsbury, this time a middle grade adventure story, The Wolf Wilder by Katherine Rundell. Katherine Rundell is the author of Rooftoppers, which won loads of awards and had lots of high praise. I've never read anything. This is the first book by her that I've read, and it was so wonderful. It's a story set in Russia. The main character, Theo, is a wolf wilder along with her mother, and wolf wilders basically help wolves to become wild again after being tamed and being horribly treated by the Russian nobility, who stuff them full of food and try to make wild creatures into tame pets. And basically this story is it is about Theo and her wolves as they go on this adventure to try to rescue Theo's mother, and she comes across all these different people and she makes different friends, and it's such a wonderful story about friendship and wolves and bravery, and it was just incredible. I read this book and I just thought, yes, yes. Next up isn't technically a British author. She is an Irish author, born in Ireland, living in Ireland, but so many people keep telling me about this book when I mention UKYA that I can't bring myself to correct everyone, and I'm gonna just sneak it into this video because I loved it so much, and that is The Accident Season by Moira Fowley-Doyle. And this book is incredible. It's about secrets and about a family who every October faces their own accident season, in which just general misfortune falls upon them in terms of bad luck, injury, sometimes even death, and it really sort of delves into the reason behind the accident season, and it has some amazing creepy magical realism, and I loved it so much. There's something about this book that felt incredible as I was reading it, and I really do hope that lots of you pick up this book. Next up, I picked up a book that isn't published until September, and that is The Next Together by Lauren James. This is a story about a couple, Matthew and Katherine, and their love for each other that spans generations. There are a few different timelines that are interwoven together. So there's one in the Crimean War, there's 2 in the future. There's There's one around the Jacobite Revolution in Scotland, and these stories, they're just so incredible, and the love between Matthew and Katherine is so fantastic. I think the two of them are just absolutely adorable, and I thought that this book was incredibly sweet and fun and absolutely romantic, and it is one not to miss out on in September. Next up, I picked up The Curious Tale of the Lady Caribou by Katherine Johnson. I've already reviewed this book. I will leave a link down below to my review, and also the interview that I did with Katherine Johnson talking about princess rules and historical YA recommendations and people of color historical figures, so do check that out. This is based on a true story about a poor girl who convinces a wealthy family that she's in fact a Javanese princess, and they take her in for several months and they treat her like one of their own family, and it's about changing your destiny and becoming who you'd really rather be. It had some great concepts about gender and about race and about love. It's quite slightly romantic, and it was absolutely fascinating throughout. Next up, I picked up Being a Girl by Hayley Long. This is a non-fiction guide for teens and preteens about all those things about being a girl that makes us different and special. So it talks about hair and sex and relationships and going through puberty, and Hayley Long is just a wonderful guide through these difficult periods. She gives some great advice, and it all just feels like we're listening to like a really cool older sister, or that fun awesome aunt that everyone wishes that they had. It's beautifully illustrated throughout with these fun illustrations by Gemma Coral. It was really quick to read, but it was also very useful and full of information. Next up, I read The Art of Being Normal by Lisa Williamson. This is the Bookish Brits book club choice for June. I will leave a link down below to the video that Andrew and I did for the channel. It was a really wonderful read. This is talking about two characters, David and Leo. They both have these enormous secrets, and you know David's secret right off the bat. He is transgender. He knows within himself that he is actually a girl, and he's struggling to tell his parents in order to move on to that next step to further transition him into who he is meant to be. And Leo is the new boy at school. He has his own past, his own secrets, but he kind of wants to keep to himself until he intervenes when David is being bullied by some other students, and together they start this great friendship, and I loved David and Leo's friendship. I really did. I loved how this book explored the challenges and issues surrounding transgender teens, and I thought it was a really important book to read. Next up, while on a weekend away, I read Deep Water by Lou Hersey. This was a really fun book set around some Cornish myths and legends, and I thought it was a really quick, easy book to read, and I did enjoy it. However, I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more complex within the character development. I wanted there to be more of an edge to the story. I wanted some sort of twist. Everything felt a little bit simplistic, but it was fun for what it is. I don't read that many books with a paranormal element to it, but this one is definitely a very fun read. And the ninth and final book that I wanted to talk to you about today is this book. It's called Only We Know by Simon Packham, and unfortunately I was very disappointed with this book. I did expect this book from the blurb and that I'd heard about this book previous to to picking it up is I expected this book to be kind of a teen thriller, only with this slightly unusual cover, and that is not what this book turned out to be. It felt like it was trying to be a teen thriller, leaving different hints and clues that the main character, Lauren, had either done something terrible in her past or was the victim of something terrible in her past. And it is only in the 10 pages before the end that the reader is told explicitly the secrets that Lauren keeps. Now, perhaps, and after reading this book, and after leaving my review on Goodreads, I did read through some other Goodreads reviews, and it felt very much like other readers were left very mystified throughout the story about the issues that Lauren has dealt with previously, but as I was reading the book, it felt very clear to me very early on in the story exactly what Lauren's secret is, and also I guessed very quickly who might be the person responsible for leaving Lauren these sinister gifts and in notes. So for me, reading this book was a very confusing experience because I didn't quite understand the reasoning behind the structure of the novel. I didn't understand why Lauren's secret becomes a big reveal later on in the book, and to me it just felt a little bit off in the ways that LGBT and mental illness issues are portrayed in this book. So to be honest, it was a bit of a disappointment. So I'm not really I can't recommend that other people read it, unfortunately. So that's it for me today. Here are the 9 books that I read in the second half of June. Do let me know how you're getting on with the British Books Challenge. Have you read any of these books? What have you been reading lately? Do let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.